Welcome to Basketball Explained. I will be your instructor today, Marcus Oliver. And today we're going to cover the action, and post action for point guards, but it's a concept. So if you're not a point guard, coach, parent, any other position, the concept lies the same throughout the entire game. It's everywhere in the game. All right, so this is our agenda. We're going to cover the introduction. We're going to define pre-action, action, and post-action, the role of a point guard, the importance of the pre-action phase, examples of pre-action, why avoiding calling plays in the yellow area. Some of this goes over each other, but hopefully it's very clear at the very end. And then examples, scenarios, and then a final recap and final tips. All right, so let's get started. The introduction to point guard decision making. So the point guard drives the team decisions. They choose the plays, they set the pace, and they control transition many a times. So because they control the beginning of a lot of things, that's most of the time the pre to a lot of action that you see in basketball. So your point guard, and this is what I mean. So they get the ball out in the outlet and they decide whether we're gonna go in transition by passing the ball at the court or not by holding the ball and calling the play. Um, Also, they choose to play, whether the coach tell them to play and then they call the play, whether they call the play or another play, like it's all, and it could be based on what they see, right? So all of this is the point guard's position, responsibilities a lot of times. Defining pre-action, action, and post-action. So this is a concept and this is the concept. So fundamentally, before a decision arises is the pre. So this is all about a decision, whether you move or don't move, whether you dribble or don't dribble, whether you shoot it or not, don't shoot it, whether you pass it or don't pass it. All of this is what I'm talking about. So and this is why it goes throughout the entire game, and you're going to see why and how we connect this to something pinpointed. So the before a decision is going to be a pre-action. During the decision is the action, and then afterwards it redeems a result, which is called your post-action. Essentially, every move or non-movement from all 5, 10 players on the court is a decision while the game is in play, while the clock is going down. All right, so let's keep that in mind. Whether you move or whether you don't move while the clock is in play, this is a decision, and this is what the player is responsible for. The role of a point guard. So the pre-action, action, and post-action. This is just an example of when the point guard is bringing the ball up the court. You see at the very beginning, that is your pre-action to in a overall bird's eye view of the game. That is the pre-action. The definite pinpointed action that's happening right there is a point guard with the ball. The defender's guarding him a certain way, and what did you do when you even flashed to the ball that provided you either an additional space, no space, or that result that you're standing in now, which is your post action with the ball. You have the ball now and you're going into another action. But the overall viewpoint is you're bringing the ball up the court, you're starting to play, and how you're going to execute these responsibilities, tasks is based on what you know to do, the knowledge that you have. All right. Knowledge can be used against you, can and is being and will be used against you in all scenarios in order for somebody to get an advantage. So that's why you want to be on the other side with the knowledge, taking advantage and understanding the fundamentals on what you need to do along with your skill set and athleticism is essential in differentiating your player from anybody else, because what's going to happen is you're going to start moving. So athleticism plus skill plus fundamentals equals intention. You're going to start moving with more intention. And with that intention, you're going to expect something on the other end. And if you use fundamentals when they're in the pre action, it's going to deem exactly what you're looking for in the post action. All right. Timing and on the offense. So this all comes together essentially. Timing is what you're after as a point guard. So additionally to setting up the play, bring the ball up the court, the timing of the offense is not something you're necessarily responsible for. That's more coaches, but they're going to put you responsible for it because you need to do some things in order to pertain and assist with timing. And one thing you can do to assist with timing is calling the play in the green. This is what you're going to see in the green area. You call the play in that area. Now your team has time to set up. A lot of times, one of the biggest problems with taking advantage of set offense is the players are not set. And if you're not set, then you cannot fundamentally execute what you need to execute to provide that pre to your action for the post of you either being open or having a backdoor opportunity or option of being available. If you just flash out to the ball, you don't have a backdoor opportunity. You never challenge the other area. You never move the defender to create additional space. These are all things that happen in the pre that affect a post in getting open for the ball. As many pre's and posts all throughout the game of basketball. I'm not gonna go over nearly I don't even know close to any of them, close to how many are in the game, but once you start recognizing them in your position, it's going to be like a neuron. They all connect together. So you're going to start recognizing the patterns all over the place. All right. Pressure in general is not pressure. It's just a challenge to your skills, athleticism, any of those things. It's just challenging those things because for the advantage. If those things are up to par, then you won't feel the pressure. Play call in the green. We just went over that. It's going to help with timing. It's going to relinquish additional responsibilities off of you to quote unquote worry about because now you have to bring the ball at the court with pressure and make sure people are in position while reading the defense to make your ultimate decision in the post. So, or in the during to post area. So I mean, even in the green, play calling in the green comes down to making a decision to what play to run. You have to read the defense and already see what side is your best player on. Already see all of the most important things you need to make this decision, and then it's going to be based on pretty much the action of each play. Where does it pull that post action into to create either a mismatch, an advantage, a specific advantage? This is what play calling is all about as a point guard, and this happens in the green. I know it's a lot to process, but over time it becomes second nature. And this is what practice is all about. And this is also what repetition, having the intention when you're going into practice is all about. Because if you don't have the intention to work on these things, they're not being worked on. These things are something that has to be trained into your player automatically happening and processing. This is not something that we're going to work on in the game. This is the pre before you get to the post, which is the game, or even the action, which is the game. The post is gonna be the outcome of the game. All right. Um, Examples of pre-action. You got pre all over the place, pre-action and post-action all over the place. The pre and defense is ball pressure and hopefully disrupt the play. Whether you're the point guard, shooting guard, power forward, or center, it's possible from all areas. Just imagine as a center, what do you do to disrupt the play? You usually guard the pick and rolls. Imagine if you ice the pick. What if there's all these other things that you can do to disrupt the play? Every position has the opportunity. It's 1 in 5, 1 out of 5 players. This was just an example right here. The video was an example of, you can go back and look at it. Just probably calling the play in the yellow. All right. A lot of times when the action starts in yellow, you'll see, not saying that people should pop out when the green, the play should be called in the green. In the yellow, people should be getting set to already set. And as that man comes down and hit the red is when you're going to hit your outside opportunity to see, hey, are you going to respect here? And then you're going to, which creates more additional space for you to go and execute your task. So, or a fundamental movement to grab the lane, to be open, definitely open to get the ball. If you don't do a fundamental move to create a definite, then the action up here is going to be what we call happenstance, and we'll talk about that shortly. Why avoid calling play in the yellow? We went over that. Timing, mostly for timing. All right. You will be managing exactly, making sure they're actually going to the right spots. You'll do all of that, and the timing is going to be essential. If one person starts a play and the other 3 people start a second after, it's going to be stagnated, and that's going to one opportunity is not going to be there, the other one then going to be cut off from being there, and now you're going to be stuck with the ball and not running the set play. It's going to be done. The play will be broken or have to be reset up, which is going to take more time in the moment. And broken play is no organization. Nobody knows where nobody is at, and it's just again a happenstance set. Here we go. So, concept of recap and final tips. Pre-action, no matter what position, no matter parent, coach, player, doesn't matter. Pre-action is what you do before this decision. Action is what happens in the decision. Post-action is what happens, the result. All right. So your action is what you do beforehand. Ultimately, that is deeming your result. All right. So your action has to be intentional. We talked about it. And when you're intentional, when you get to that result, you're looking for action. When you get to the action, you're looking for only one or two things. You don't have all of this stuff to go through to analyze. You made an intentional decision in the pre. So when you get to the action, you don't have a whole list of opportunities. You're seeing what's available because you deemed something here that now the defense has to react to. One or two options here. You see what I'm saying? And then we make that's not happenstance. Happenstance is when you start in action. Your movement, your decisions start with the action. Everything's happening together. And that is what that's where most players fall. And that's where the average is. Where most players is, that's where average lies. All right. And that means you have little to no control over the outcome. You're playing off of whatever happened. All right. And that's how most basketball players think that basketball is played. They think basketball is played in the game. Everything is done inside of the game. Nothing is done proactively to affect this or the result. And that is where you become you get inconsistent results. You get frustrated in times. But people think that's the process that the game is talking about. That it has nothing to do with the process that the game is talking about. Internal chaos. You don't, as a human being, we have a brain and we look to understand, recognize patterns. And you're gonna see a whole bunch of janky things that don't necessarily connect every single time. And that is what happenstance players find. And they feel like there is no true connection or understanding in that arena because of that's all they know of the arena. So it's hard to quote unquote convince people of this side of it, the pre, that are in the action and where most people are, where most of basketball is in the action, because you have your greats that play in action. You have your great coaches that just believe in action, played in action, only coach off of action. That is not proactive. That brings your consistency at all. Anyways, those who play in this too late are usually the ones that either over athleticized, over height, over tall, over big, have something, a huge advantage, or either are role players on the bench. You're playing behind the basketball 9 out of 10 times. There's no way you can play basketball effectively when you're too late on every action. That means you have to overextend your weight on every single thing. All right. That leads to injury. That leads to overdoing something for a very basic stance. All right. Um, Post action is when you already took your two steps and now in the decision. This is where you're playing. You're playing off of that. You're playing off of just plain after effect. I'm coming and happenstance rarely happens here. Like you take your two steps and now you up in the air. Like you know what's there is going to be what's there. All right. So the goal is the elite play. The goal is to complete the task effectively as possible. So no matter what it is, if you bring the ball to the court, if you're shooting the basketball, if you're scoring the basketball, if you're running the play, if you're in the post, if you flash a high post, if you're dealing with um full court pressure, press offense, zone defense, press defense, zone defense. The goal is to do that one responsibility: bring the ball to the court, run the play, make sure those are their position. Those small little things you have to hit those tasks effectively. That means I shouldn't have to yank, 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 yank just to bring the ball to the court. I shouldn't have to wait 3, 5, 7 seconds to start the play. All of these things come down to who and how you complete compete as a player. All right. And elite play are going to minimize those things, and it's going to be more precise in completing your task with pressure. All right. So those are the final tips and recap. There is a link in the bio or description. If you complete that poll, it'll be a free 30-minute consultation with me for free, all about you. So I want to provide the opportunity to connect with me. I'd like to truly connect with you all to see what's going on in basketball. So feel free to fill out that link. You'll get an email straight to you where you can sign up for a free consultation with me, and we can talk more and more about what's going on with you. All right. So that's Basketball Explained. Hopefully this helped. Hopefully the concept was clear. All right. Comment and like for more.